Hello, I'd like to welcome you all to our Thursday 1:30 p.m. session today, where we have a brand new guest who will be coming on with us monthly for now. And we have Mr. Giovanna talking about understanding dementia and knowing the symptoms from DACL. So we're so excited to have you on today for our session. I'm going to read our disclaimer before we get started. The WildTech DC Senior Digital Inclusion Program, its owners and presenters offer technical assistance, virtual health, well-being information designed for educational purposes only. You should not rely in the information, any apps or topics made by WildTech, including but not limited to mobile device applications and any social media pages maintained by WildTech, its owners or presenters as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or legal advice. Thank you so much for letting me read the disclaimer. If you cannot see us, hear us, let us know. Really appreciate that. Let's keep our TVs and cell phones in mind. But besides that, make sure you take notes and or screenshots so you can review the information for later on if you would like. So, and you can see this on YouTube. So once again, hello YouTube, and hope you all enjoy and learn something new. So thank you so much, Giovanna, for coming on. If you could introduce yourself and your topic for today. Thank you so much for presenting, and we're going to learn a lot of new things today. So thank you so much. The floor is yours.
Alrighty. Well, good afternoon. My name is Giovanna Hunt. I'm the Dementia Program Coordinator at the Department of Aging and Community Living. So today I'll be talking about understanding dementia and knowing the symptoms. A little bit about me. I have been a caregiver since I was 16. I've helped care for 4 different loved ones in my family who have had 3 different types of dementia. And I'm currently still caregiving as I help my mom take care of my 90-and-a-half-year-old grandfather who has dementia with Lewy bodies. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you all can see my slides.
And while Giovanna pulls that up, can we get a raise of hands if you know anyone in your family, community that experiences dementia or memory loss, or you may think could be of use for this presentation? Any hands? If you know anyone that has dementia, memory loss, would benefit from our session today, if you would benefit from our session today, please raise the hand. Thank you. Wow, 4 hands so far. I love it. I let me raise my own hand. Um, so again, if you know anyone, if you this would benefit yourself or someone else, we got quite a few hands, Giovanna. So I'm looking forward to our session today. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to go through the agenda. So we're going to first meet Ms. Bill Doris Marie Malloy. We're going to also talk about our thoughts about dementia, as well as walk through common misconceptions. We're going to talk about what dementia is, as well as the risk factors and causes. We're going to talk about the various types of dementia, Miss Bill's current situation, what are the symptoms, her next steps, how it can be diagnosed, and prevention tips. Although it says questions and comments at the end, I typically encourage questions or comments throughout the presentation because if you are a lot like me, if you have to wait until the end, you may forget your question or lose interest in whatever question you are going to ask. So I encourage you to ask the question when the mood strikes.
Raise those hands. I am more than happy to assist.
All right. So Miss Bill Doris Marie Malloy, she's 85 years old. She lives with her spouse, her adult daughter, as well as her granddaughter. She's a retired educator. She's very active and has close ties to her religious community. She's artistic, she's creative, and she's also a very proud and doting grandparent. She's very social and very active in her overall community. She loves to cook, bake, garden, sew. She loves to do photography and she loves to write. Does Miss Bill sound like anybody that you would know?
You can raise your hand or say yes.
Yes,
Mm-hmm. Right. Miss Miss Bell sounds like somebody she could be like your neighbor or something, right?
right. Friends
Friend.
Or like
Mhm.
yourself.
Exactly. So when I say dementia, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Take a second to think and raise your hands. We'd love to hear from you. And then we'll hear from others as well. Anyone would like to share? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word dementia? All right, we got Geraldine. Thank you so much for sharing. What do
Well,
you
the
think?
first thing that comes to mind is forgetfulness.
Mm-hmm.
You forget.
Forgetfulness.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yes, I will take that. That's good. Okay. What
Yvonne, how
else?
about you, Yvonne? Thank you.
I'm sorry, but Geraldine took my answer. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay. Forgetfulness, I will take it.
In fact, I was in the market yesterday and someone said, "Hello, Yvonne." Her face was familiar, and I felt very badly because I did not remember her name, although her face was familiar and she knew me so well. So that's why I said we can personally identify with that.
Great.
You can unmute and share. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear dementia? Anyone else? Unmute and share. I
Miss
see you have
Doris
the
has her hand raised.
but you can unmute yourself and share. Anyone?
Is it like you forget something that you're going to look for and you forget it when you get there? What you went looking for?
Possibly. We're actually going to talk about that. So keep that in mind, Miss Doris. I'm going to come right back to that.
Okay.
What about mood swings?
Yes, mood swings. So we have forgetfulness, we have mood swings. Okay, wait a minute. I think I see something else.
Ms. Gracie said decrease in the chat. Decrease.
De-
Well,
you said decrease.
my hand is raised.
Okay, yeah, you can unmute yourself and share. This goes for anyone.
Yeah, that runs on my father's side of the family when they get up in the 80s, because they live up in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a trend on my father's side of the family. They started doing different things. He used to hide food all around the house,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
and we had to check the house every night in the oven or whatever, and they
Mm.
do different kind of things, but that runs on my father's side of the family.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. But yes, new behaviors. That is also good to add to the list. Anybody else want to add anything else to our list?
But thank you all so much. Y'all are doing a great job. Anyone else would like to unmute and share? I did see a hand, but I think you lowered your hand. Anyone else want to unmute, share? What do you first think of when you think of dementia?
Okay.
Miss Wilson, did you want to share?
Yes. Getting lost.
Getting lost. Yes. Wandering.
Okay, you lose something and you try to go back and find it where you thought you were hid it at, and
Mhm.
you can't find it. Is that dimension too?
We're
Yeah.
actually getting ready to talk about that. We're going.
And
Yeah.
a lot of times they talk about the past always.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Revisiting the past. Yes. Okay. These are
Mm-hmm.
all
Mhm.
things that most people hear or know about when you talk about dementia. So we have a nice list going, and I
And
want you
I
to keep the
think we
list
can
in
add
mind.
paranoia.
Yes,
I
paranoia
have
is also
found
a really
that to
good one.
be a trait among people who are suffering with dementia. Somebody's tapping their phone or uh, has broken into their home, or they have a sense of um, paranoia, or
Yeah.
they're paranoid.
Yes, that is actually a really good one, and that is also a symptom, and we're going to actually talk about that later.
And
Um,
when I said about the past, it's that they might call you a name that, that they, saying your name Murray, they might keep calling you May or
right.
something. And you like, that's his sister name. Or, why they keep calling me Murray?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of puzzle you, like something going on, that's what I meant about the past. Or they
I
think
will
in
take
the
that.
past about a lot of things.
I will take that. Well, thank
Okay.
you
You guys are
all for
doing
your
amazing.
responses. You have given
Yeah.
me a really good list. So now we're going to talk about the actual common misconceptions that a lot of people have about dementia. So the first common misconception is that memory loss always means dementia. That's not always true. So someone mentioned misplacing things or going into a room not being able to find it. Occasional forgetting is actually very natural and normal to the aging process. So how many of you have walked into a room and forgot why you walked in that room?
Raise your hand. You can raise
Me.
it.
Mhm. I've done it quite often. For those of us that wear glasses, how many of us have looked for our glasses and our glasses have either been on top of our head or on our face?
Me.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Trying to find your keys, your wallet, or whatever, and it's either in your purse or in your pockets.
I think we all have on the call at one point in our lives.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
have.
Mm-hmm. So that is occasional forgetting, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're able to backtrack and trace your steps
Yeah.
to figure out where
Where?
you misplaced the items or why you walked into that particular room. Like, what were you about to do?
Yes.
That's natural and normal to the aging process. When we're looking at dementia, it is when occasional forgetting becomes a constant and it is now disrupting how you function in everyday life.
Oh.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next misconception is that only older people get dementia. That's not true either. So there are over 100 different types of dementia. Today we're going to talk through 5, but there are different types that have early onset. So early onset is going to be anything that happens before the age of 65. So take Alzheimer's for instance. It has an early onset component as well as frontal temporal dementia. Frontal temporal dementia can happen as early as your 30s. Early onset with Alzheimer's can happen as early as your 40s. Everyone is familiar with the football player Michael Irvin.
Mm-hmm.
So Michael Irvin's wife was recently diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and she's 50.
Mm.
The next misconception is that people with dementia are always aggressive, violent, and agitated. That's not true either. So when you're looking at aggression, violence, or agitation, those are behaviors. Okay. And those are going to happen when a person is experiencing an unmet need. It may be confusion, it could be frustration, you may be restless, you have to go to the bathroom, it could be a lack of trust or anything of that nature. But it is a behavior, and a behavior is going to always have a trigger. Not everyone is going to have aggressive tendencies or show a lot of agitation or violence. Everyone's journey with dementia is going to be different. But it's important to remember that if you are witnessing aggression, agitation, and violence, it is a behavior and there's always a trigger. The next misconception is that people with dementia are unable to have a good quality of life or learn new things. That's not true either. Individuals with dementia can still have a very good and meaningful life as well as learn new habits. The thing with dementia is it is going to change their routine, but routines are very important. So as long as you stick to the routine and constantly meet the person where they are. So if you have to adapt the routine consistently because you're meeting them where they are, that's fine. So where they are today may not be where they are next week or where they are next month or even next year. Another misconception is that there's nothing that can be done for dementia. There is no cure. I want to be clear. There's no cure for dementia. However, the sooner you have a diagnosis, the sooner you can begin to plan and put treatments in place as well as interventions and make your long-term goals for what you want your care to look like. There's also medications that slow the progression of the disease, but it does not stop it. And then the last misconception is my favorite misconception, and that is dementia is a normal part of aging. That is not true. Just because you are a senior, it does not mean you are automatically going to get dementia. The issue is a lot of times people only see older adults with dementia. So that is what they think happens as soon as you age. You're going to get dementia, but that is not the case. So now we're going to talk about what it is. So dementia is a general or umbrella term that's going to describe any condition that impacts your overall cognitive functioning. So your memory, your thought process, as well as your personality, your mood, and your behavior. It is also going to impact how you function in day-to-day life. So it can range anywhere from mild to severe, and over time, it's going to continue to progress. In 2021, the World Health Organization said that there were around 10 million new cases of dementia worldwide. 57 million people, and each year that grows by 10 million. The district alone already has a very high number and prevalence of Alzheimer's. So dementia happens because you have an abnormal change in the brain. That's what it is. It's an abnormal change in the brain. And depending upon the type of dementia, we're looking at the different area of the brain that's impacted. So dementia can happen because you have a host of other illnesses, as well as any injuries that may have been directly or indirectly happening to the brain. So you know how they tell you you should have heart health? I'm here to tell you brain health is just as important as heart health. So now we're going to go through the various risk factors. So when you're looking at risk factors, the one risk factor that none of us can change is age. We can't change it. We can't stop it. We can't slow it down. We can't pause it. We can't rewind. That's the one risk factor that we can't change. But the rest of the risk factors, you have some type of control over. So when you're looking at certain medical diseases such as hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, heart disease, those are things you all have control over. You're also looking at being overweight or obese and also lacking physical activity. That is something you can change. Heavy smoking, high alcohol consumption are also risk factors, but those are also risk factors that you can also change. You're looking at head injury. So if you had a fall and you had a concussion, you bumped your head, that also is a risk factor. You're looking at social isolation. That is a very big one. Lack of contact and connection with others. And also certain mental health diagnoses such as depression or anxiety. Another risk factor that you really want to look at is managing your stress and sleep. So, how many people on this call get a good amount of sleep?
You can raise your hand if you feel like you get a good amount of sleep. Sleep well, raise your hand.
Okay, so Miss Gracie raised her hand. At least that's what I could see.
I know
Yeah.
in the past, we've heard, there are people experiencing all different kind of levels. So we've done an apps for sleep session, but that is definitely something we've talked about before in the past. Yes, Gracie?
I don't sleep a lot like most people take naps, but the doctor say the hours that I get are sufficient and I sleep when I sleep. I don't dream and all that stuff. I just go to sleep. And when I wake up after 5 or 6 hours, I'm rested and ready for the next day.
That's good because you got
Mm-hmm.
to think about it. When you are sleeping, you are allowing your brain the opportunity to rest and recharge and heal from everything that happened during
Mm-hmm.
that day. So when you're not getting a good amount of sleep or good quality sleep,
The camera is
your brain is not really resting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we're going to walk through the different types of dementia. Miss Brenda, I
Oh,
see your hand
yeah.
is raised.
You have a question, Miss Brenda, about the last slide? You can hit unmute in the middle, Miss Brenda. You have a question for Giovanna?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I was thinking about the dimension. You said you was something. I forgot. I forgot, but what she said the first time that lady was on it. What's her name?
Me,
No, the one that you was speaking with about the.
Gracie.
Yeah, Grace.
Gracie.
Hmm.
She was asking that same question I was getting ready to ask about the.
Oh,
Yeah,
about the sleep.
yeah, the sleep part. Yeah, if you get your 8 hours and see, like, if you go to sleep at say 7 o'clock in the afternoon and wake up around about 2 or 3 at night, is that enough time to go to get.
The doctor told me because some days I don't go to bed till 4 o'clock, but
Yeah,
I
well,
still get
sometimes I go to sleep at 8 o'clock.
hours. And he said that's good. If that's
Yeah,
my, if I can handle the schedule, it's okay.
yeah. That's what I said. I was thinking too, because if I go to sleep at 8 o'clock during the evening at night and wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, that's just too early to get up.
Right. But then are you able to go right back to sleep?
Yeah, and I take
No.
a nap at around. Yeah, I take a nap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you want to think about it when you're getting your sleep, like what is going to help you feel your best the next day and well
and
rested.
8 hours. I want at least 8 hours. That's all I could do is 8 hours sleep.
Yeah. And some people, all they can do is 8 hours. Some people can do 7. But it's like you really want to get enough where you feel fully rested
That's
the
exactly.
next day and you have energy. You don't really feel
Yeah,
sluggish.
I think I've run out of energy. I need some aspirins or vitamins or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, again, don't forget always if you have any challenges, you got to contact your primary care providers because
Yeah.
everyone's a little bit different. So always call them. That's what they're there for.
Okay.
That's what I did. I went to the doctor because everybody was telling me I should be sleeping more than 6 hours, and I thought something was wrong with me
Exactly.
until I went to the doctor, and then I found out it was nothing wrong.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. So, but that's good, Miss Gracie, that you went to the doctor to address the concerns that you had
Yes.
instead of ignoring them. A lot of times people will see signs and symptoms of things and kind of just ignore them, especially if it's a subtle sign.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see signs, especially if it's concerning for you, I would say always talk to the doctor
Right.
because you want to rule everything out.
That's right.
So, the first type of dementia we're going to talk about is Alzheimer's. This is the most common type of dementia, and it accounts for 60 to 80% of dementia cases. So, Alzheimer's is going to impact a person's overall memory, thinking, moods, behaviors, all of that. And it's going to progress over time and it's going to impact a person's activities of daily living and how they function in day-to-day life. So when you're looking at Alzheimer's, it has an abnormal buildup of amyloid plaques and tau tangles. So when you hear plaques and tangles, that's what they're talking about in the brain for Alzheimer's, and those are proteins. The next type of dementia is vascular dementia. This is the second most common form. So, as we go through the symptoms, a lot of the types have similar symptoms and characteristics. However, they all have distinct characteristics that set them apart. So, with vascular dementia, it is the second most common form of dementia. However, it is going to happen because you have damaged, narrowed, or blocked blood vessels in the brain. And it's going to cause a major decline in thinking skills. Although there is a memory component when you're looking at vascular dementia, this type of dementia is more so going to impact a person's thought processing speed and overall thinking. So, memory is not quite as prevalent with this type of dementia. The next type is dementia with Lewy body. So this is going to happen when you have an abnormal deposit of the protein alpha synuclein. So we all have alpha synuclein in our brain, but when you have an abnormal amount of it, it misfolds and becomes a Lewy body. This also applies to Parkinson's. Parkinson's also falls under the umbrella of dementia. So when you're looking at dementia with Lewy body, this is going to be a more progressive type of dementia, and it's going to cause a decline in overall thinking, reasoning, mood, memory, and overall cognitive and independent functioning. So when you're looking at dementia with Lewy bodies, their distinct characteristics, we're looking at visual hallucinations, REM sleep behavior disorder, slow movements, tremors, body rigidity, as well as spontaneous alertness and attention. So when we're looking at REM sleep behavior disorder, this is going to be whenever a person is enacting what is going on in their dreams in their sleep. So if the person is fighting in their dreams, they are fully fighting in their sleep. If they're walking in their dreams, they are walking in their sleep. And this can cause injuries. So it is very mindful to kind of keep that in mind when you are navigating dementia with Lewy body. The next type is frontal temporal dementia. And this is a rare form of dementia. Similar to vascular dementia, frontal temporal dementia does have a memory component. However, frontal temporal dementia, we're looking at the entire frontal region. So this is going to impact mood, personality, language, as well as overall logic, reasoning, and behavior. And frontal temporal dementia is basically a degeneration of your frontal lobe. And then the last type is mixed dementia. And this happens when you have more than one type of dementia happening at the same time. So you could be diagnosed with Alzheimer's as well as vascular dementia. You could be diagnosed with dementia with Lewy bodies and frontal temporal, or Alzheimer's and Lewy bodies. Anytime you have more than one type of dementia happening, that is going to always be called mixed dementia. You also increase your risk of developing mixed dementia if you already have one type. So back to Miss Bell. So Miss Bell's daughter and her granddaughter are starting to notice changes in Miss Bell, and they're starting to get a little concerned. Her husband, on the other hand, hasn't noticed any changes, and he just thinks everything she's going through is normal aging. But these are some of the symptoms that she's exhibiting, which have been concerning to her family. She's starting to eat old food. She has now withdrawn from her normal social and community activities. She's not taking care of her hygiene, and she's having challenges with getting dressed appropriately. She's often wandering and getting lost. She's very impulsive. She's experiencing poor judgment as well as memory loss, some inappropriate behavior, and mood changes. Does this sound like she's exhibiting normal aging, or do you think something's concerning going on with Miss Bell?
Please raise your hand if you'd like to share, and then we'll hear from others. What do you think? What do you think is going on? Please raise your hand and share what you think of the situation. Anyone would like to share? You can raise your hands.
Miss
What do you think?
Gracie raised her hand.
Mm-hmm. Any others? Raise your hand, please. They love to hear from you what you think of this situation. Go ahead, Gracie.
Well, with me, I think the reason I feel this way, I've had so many family members that had dementia or Alzheimer's. I would say right away, I would think something was wrong. I'd take him to the doctor and explain all of that and let him tell me what he thought it was.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, Miss Gracie.
How about you, Yvonne? Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to ask Giovanna about Parkinson's. Is Parkinson's always, does it always involve some form of dementia?
So Parkinson's, it does fall under the umbrella of dementia.
So if you have Parkinson's, that it's a given that you're going to have dementia.
It can possibly progress into it, but it does fall under that umbrella because it does share that Lewy body protein.
Mm-hmm. And you said there's no cure, but there's a lot of advertisements on TV for Prevalent and medications like that. Can you, I know this is something for everybody's primary care physician, but is there any kind of medication approved by the Food and Drug Administration that has been proven to help with the progression, slowing
So
it
there
down?
are different types of medications that doctors do prescribe to help slow down the progression, but it doesn't stop it.
So
But it's
you
not
would
always a
get that from
guarantee
it would be a
that.
prescription, nothing over
Mhm.
the counter.
Yeah. And then if you do see stuff that's over the counter, I would suggest talking to the doctor first before taking it, just
Mm-hmm.
to see if it is going to interact with any medications you or the person you're concerned about are already taking, because you don't want to have drug interactions, as well as to see what would be the benefits of it for you or for the person you're concerned about.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
But Giovanna, we've had the Parkinson Foundation on a couple of times, so please check out some of those videos on our channel, everyone. I see some more hands. I love it. What do you think of Miss Bell's current situation? We got Geraldine and then Miss Doris.
Yeah, with respect to Belle's current situation, my concern is that her husband doesn't think she's changing. He doesn't think anything is wrong. But I would think that if she's withdrawing from her normal social and community activities, that he would notice that something would be wrong. I think that if I noticed these things that you listed here, I would think that something was wrong. I wouldn't think it was normal behavior if I noticed.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
But that's also a good point when you're looking at families.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll notice some symptoms, but kind of just say, oh, mom has always been that way, or dad has always been like that, or grandma or grandpa is normally always like that. They're not acting different
Mm-hmm.
when it really is a change.
Okay.
I tell
Okay.
people all the time, you want to look at the nuance of the change and the
Mm-hmm.
situation, because
Okay.
dementia is a lot like a heart attack and a stroke. Those three things just do not happen out of nowhere or
Mm-hmm.
just pop up randomly one day. There have always been signs and symptoms. Now, whether those signs and symptoms were just that subtle enough you didn't recognize them, they
Mm-hmm.
were there.
Okay.
But I'm also very glad to hear that you all are very in tune with who is around you, so you will notice when there are changes. That is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, when somebody's in a high office, a lot of times people will notice changes and withhold any kind of judgment about it when they know pretty much for certain that this person is not acting normally or that
Right,
there's something going on.
Not right.
But the subordinates are very afraid to even mention it privately.
Mhm.
right,
And it's unfortunate because a lot of decisions are made by persons higher up who are clearly demented.
right. Yeah. And it's also helpful if you do recognize some changes or symptoms in a person. It's okay if you have that conversation with them
Well,
to
it's very
discuss
hard
your
to do
concern.
that with your boss. If you know your boss is having an issue, you're not going to be, discussing it with
Yeah,
anybody, really, because you wouldn't want your name to get out.
right. Yeah. But then you can also look at the relationship too that you possibly have with your supervisor. Like if you have that good enough relationship to say, like, hey, I've noticed some changes and I'm just a little concerned. But it also depends on how you say it. Like, what is the tone and what is the nature of the conversation, as well as the relationship.
Certainly. Um, thank you so much. We have some more hands. We got Miss Doris for Miss Bell's situation.
Okay, Miss Doris.
And then we'll have Miss Carolyn for our last stop. You got to unmute yourself, Miss Doris. Okay, let me help you. I just sent you the request. Make sure you hit unmute. Miss Doris, did you want to share your thoughts on Miss
I
Bell's situation?
want to ask you a question. Do you
Yes,
think
ma'am.
the dementia can be hereditary on the family side? Because I know,
So
like
go
my
ahead.
father's, most of the people on his side of the family, they live up into their 90s,
Hmm.
and they usually get it. Most of them start getting it in their 80s.
Right.
So could that
So
be a hereditary thing?
so there are certain types that share genetic components. Like Alzheimer's does have a genetic component, so does dementia with Lewy bodies. And you also want to look at family history in terms of risk factors. Like if you know your family has a history of diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, heart disease, these are all risk factors. So you really want to talk those through with the doctor to see how to address those concerns. But there are certain types of dementia that do have a genetic component. So yes, it is possible.
Yeah, because all of them they live up in their 90s, but most of them get it in their 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And they ain't had no hypertension. My father ain't had none of that. But when he got it, he started letting people in his house he didn't know and all of that. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is it a family trait thing that can cause you to have it?
So it's important to know the type of dementia that a relative has. That way you can talk it through with your doctor to see if that is a genetic component because you can do genetic testing.
Okay, because yeah, all of them get it up in their 80s.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would have that conversation with your doctor. Tell him or her the concerns you're having, especially because you know your father's side has a high prevalence of dementia, and then really look at the type of dementia and talk that through with your doctor.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so
And
much,
then I
Miss
think you
Doris, for your
said Miss
question.
Carolyn.
Yeah, Miss Carolyn, you have we want to speak on Miss Bell's situation, and then I see something in the chat.
Okay. In Miss Bell's situation, it seems like she has mixed things going on because she's not doing her wifely duties, meaning she's not taking care of the house, her clothes. And I know in my husband's situation, he started staying in his clothes for
Mm-hmm.
days
Yeah.
and he was not showering. And even when I would draw the bath for him, cut the shower on, he would be in there for about an hour playing in the water, but he was still fully dressed.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I have a aunt now that I'm helping my cousins with, and she keeps seeing people that are not there. And she's talking about the people on the television that are coming in her room, and we keep telling her there's nobody in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And she's at the point that she will not even sleep alone. So her daughter has to sleep with her.
Because of the hallucinations.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what type would that be?
So it depends on what other symptoms they are exhibiting, as well
Okay.
as when they do like the brain scans to see what areas of the brain are impacted.
Okay.
But hallucinations are a symptom.
That's what I keep telling my cousins.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hallucinations
she
are a
she is
symptom.
so vivid. Now with my mother before she passed, she kept telling me there was a man coming in the window.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost broke my neck trying to get out the recliner to see what man was coming in the window. She was talking about on Gunsmoke.
Yeah.
And I said right then and there, she doesn't watch Westerns anymore.
Mm-hmm. And it could be a lot of times you'll notice with like the hallucinations and the delusions, it could be something that they saw on TV last, but for them, that is their perception of reality.
Yeah, she keeps saying this. My aunt says that the trees are out there and there's somebody in the trees looking at her.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would suggest that they really have a talk with the doctor just to make sure, they're addressing all the symptoms. Because you want to know exactly the type of dementia that a person has so that way you can plan and provide appropriate interventions, treatment, and care.
All right. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Miss Carolyn. Um, I got two more. So one in the chat. Giovanna, can you explain or talk about the eating old food? Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, actually. So, like when you're eating old food, it could be a lot of times you are either forgetting that it is old, as well as you don't have the ability to just look at the dates on items, right? So, for instance, like I said, I've been a caregiver since I was 16. My great aunt would oftentimes eat old food that was just in the refrigerator. She would not look at the dates. She would not really address, like, oh, it's been sitting here for like months. It was in the refrigerator. She would just grab it and she would eat it. And we would often have to clean out the refrigerator on a weekly basis just to ensure that she wasn't eating old food because she would often get stomach aches.
Mm. Again, thank you so much for what you do and for sharing your story and for everyone sharing their stories today. We got Miss Brenda, and then I think we'll go on. Do you have a Miss Bell situation or you have a question? Thank you so much.
Well, I think I do have I had a Miss Bell situation. My mom has passed on, but we had her diagnosed, diagnosed, and she did have onset dementia. I think it was Alzheimer's. And what I would do with her, she lived with me for the last couple of years before she passed. And I would quiz her and, because she forgot about her friends. She forgot their names. I would show her pictures. She loved music. I would play music and try to, quiz her on who the artist is. We did a lot of that. I cooked for her, did a lot of things, just changed up her daily routine because she was living alone
Right.
and she was drinking a lot. And we kind of thought that might have had an effect on her brain,
Mm-hmm.
her memory. Another thing she would do while she was here with me, she would accuse my son of coming in her room, taking her earrings, her fingernail file, her fingernail clipper, and I think that was probably under inappropriate behavior. It sounds so it would be so, but that was my situation dealing with my mom. So yeah,
Well, thank you for sharing. That does happen. It could be the paranoia, which also is a symptom, which probably added to why she thought her grandson was taking things.
yeah,
But that does happen. You do see that a
And
lot.
then, yeah.
Heavy drinking, high consumptions of alcohol is a risk
yeah,
factor
yeah,
for dementia.
Yeah.
So that is something to keep in mind. But thank you for sharing that about,
Yes.
your
That's just
relationship
a
with your
very
mom and
personal
caregiving.
story. Thank you,
thank you.
Brenda.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. Yeah,
you
Yes.
guys don't have to. So we appreciate you sharing it
it
because
was.
this affects, as Giovanna said, there's a high rate of Alzheimer's in DC, and it affects a lot of people. And
Yeah.
with the technology and medical knowledge expanding every day, we're
Hmm.
going to see more of it, which is good because that
Yeah,
way people can get assistance. So
You know
I
what I found? Yeah, Alex, a lot of people who are great achievers and use their brains. Just recently, my sister lives in a senior community, and there was just a funeral last week of one of the residents there who began to accuse people of breaking into her unit. And but she had a doctorate degree. She was a doctor of divinity and just had used her brain. So it seems as if when I see death notices, a lot of times the people who leave money to the Alzheimer's Society, They themselves have come down with Alzheimer's, but they are very high achievers, socially active, and so it doesn't seem that using your brain can ward it off. That's what's so disappointing.
You do want to keep your brain active, but we still have to look at what were their other risk factors outside of them just having exceptional minds.
I understand.
Yeah.
So,
I
Yeah.
like to say something a minute. I know, how are you?
Hi.
My dad, he has COPD
Mm-hmm.
from smoking, and his oxygen was, getting lower and lower. And his wife would call me. She said, "Your dad want to speak to you." And I said, "Okay." And when he speak with me, he said, "Come over here and get her." She keep beating on me, and I hear in the background say, "Stop lying on me, Charles. I'm not beating you." He said, "Yes, you are." She said, "Your dad is mad also because he wants to go and drive his vehicle, and I
Right.
won't give him his keys. So now he's angry with me, and he keep telling people I keep beating on him." And I say, "Dad, I don't think she gonna hurt you." Or he say, "Yes, she do. Yes, she do." But it was too. His oxygen was getting lower, and
Mm-hmm.
the more it get lower, the more he say things that not even don't even exist.
Right.
And so I was saying, when you have that COPD too, that's like you were saying, the
Mm-hmm.
oxygen is leaving your brain. So
Mm-hmm.
you're going to function different types of way. And he
Exactly.
always say that she was beating on him. And she
Yeah.
said no, because he wants to go drive his car, knowing he can't. Well, he don't know that. He
Right.
thinking he still could. Yeah,
Exactly.
but I just wanted to say that a little bit about that COPD thing.
That's true. There are
Yeah.
a lot of different things that mirror and mimic dementia, as especially the dementia symptoms. So like that could be one of it, because you are looking at the lack of oxygen getting to the brain, which can probably cause some confusion and
Mm-hmm.
issues like that. You're also looking at like medication changes.
Mm-hmm.
Medication changes can also cause symptoms that will mirror or mimic dementia. You're looking at vision and hearing will
Mm-hmm.
also cause symptoms that mimic dementia, when in actuality it's just you can't hear, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
why it's important, when you do recognize certain symptoms that are happening, you have that conversation with the doctor to see what is actually going on. Like, is it dementia? Is it just my medication is off? Is it, I can't hear, I'm having vision issues? Is it another illness? Things of that nature. So that's a
And
little
I
bit.
wonder why it's not a cure for it though.
They're still
Or
working.
Oh,
They
it's
just
very
haven't gotten there yet.
complex. I mean, it's like, that's a
yeah,
$25 million question. So,
Yeah.
I
But
um,
they
know.
the
but
more,
they are working. They are working to try to find one. It's just it hasn't come yet. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you,
here
Denise.
are
We got one more hand, just one
okay.
more, and then we really got to go on because we're learning a lot of great stuff. So, Geraldine, you have a quick comment for us?
Comment. I wanted to comment about the geneticist. Is that how you pronounce it? That person who does the genetic testing, because they can tell you based on your genetics who in your family will get the dementia. Uh, uh, who will get it and who won't get it based on the where you fall in the family line. And I say that because my sister has vascular dementia, and when she first got the genetic testing, they told her who in the family would get it and who would not be to it.
Yeah, you can get genetic testing done to see if you do have the gene
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that can occur.
yeah.
Um, so here are some signs and symptoms to look out for. Like you all told me at the very beginning, forgetting, memory loss, that is one telltale sign. You're also looking at poor judgment and overall confusion. You are looking at challenges with speaking, writing, reading, or expressing thoughts because over time, dementia is going to diminish a person's ability to do these things. So you want to keep that in mind as you are looking at signs and symptoms. Wandering and getting lost, whether they are driving or walking, is a huge one. So my aunt would get gas literally every Sunday. The gas station is 2 minutes from our house. My aunt ended up 25 miles from the house. And instead of putting gas in the gas tank, my aunt was literally putting gas in the backseat of her car and putting gas all over her. Luckily for us, there was a gentleman at the gas station who did recognize that my aunt's behavior was odd. And I'm actually really excited that day my aunt decided to carry her purse, which had her ID in it. So the police did bring my aunt home with the car, and we did have to take the keys away that evening. However, she started to get lost quite a bit, and it would be because she thought she was going to go visit family members. However, these family members were already deceased. She just did not remember that they were no longer here. But that can happen when we're looking at wandering. Just like when I mentioned before, there are going to always be triggers for behavioral changes. There are always going to be a trigger for wandering. So you really want to pay attention to what's happening prior to the wandering. Another symptom would be challenges with problem solving, challenges with paying bills or handling money and finances, challenges with spatial recognition and time, issues with performing daily tasks, which would be hygiene. You are going to notice a significant change in hygiene. So when you're looking at bathing, there are going to be issues with remembering which temperature is which. So you may notice they have a difficulty trying to cut on water. So they may think they're cutting on cold water when in actuality you've cut on hot water and you've possibly burned yourself. There's also a fear of water because it's clear and you're not really sure what it is, as well as a fear of falling in the bathroom, in the bathtub, things of that nature. A lot of times you'll see resistance with bathing, especially if someone is trying to help a person with dementia with bathing. And you have to think about it. Bathing is a really intimate activity. So if I'm coming at you and I'm just now starting to try to take off all of your clothes so that I can bathe you, that is going to cause some type of fear, frustration, and confusion. So I may show agitation and significant resistance. You're also looking at the repeating of questions, phrases, or statements, as well as issues with balance and movement. However, dementia does not just impact a person physically, you're also looking at mood and noticeable behavioral changes. So this could be anxiety, sadness, overall anger. You may notice that they are laughing or crying at inappropriate times. You may also notice a huge personality change. So a person could have been very genteel and sweet before, and now you're starting to notice they're a little meaner, or they may snap a little more frequently at others. You may also notice inappropriate behavior. So when we're looking at inappropriate behavior, we're talking about shouting out vulgar language, doing vulgar acts, which could be over sexualized behaviors. You're also looking at overall withdrawal from social settings, as well as lack of interest or recognition in other people's feelings. So a person with dementia lacks the ability to recognize when they have hurt your feelings or upset you. You're also looking at impulsivity. My Nana went out and bought a brand new living room set and a fireplace with cash and never told us. It came to our house to be delivered one day, and my mom and I were looking like, what is this? What is going on? It was my Nana's new furniture. She was so excited. She was like, this is the new furniture I bought. Didn't tell us. We did keep the furniture because she really liked it, and we also, I was not arguing with an 80-something-year-old at that time, and we just moved the furniture that we had upstairs downstairs. But that's impulsivity. You may also notice that a person might go out and buy a brand new car. That can happen. You may also notice they may start to buy a lot of things off of Amazon or little small trinkets, things like that can lead up to their impulsivity. And lastly, you're looking at paranoia, hallucinations, and or delusions. So for Miss Bell, at this point, she's starting to notice that some things are changing with her and she's having her overall own concerns. But she thinks whatever is happening with her is just because she has current medical issues. So her daughter and her granddaughter decide the best thing to do for her is to take her to the doctor to get fully checked out to see what's going on. So dementia can be diagnosed in a lot of different ways. So you can get cognitive and neurological testing done, which is going to really just examine your overall thinking and physical functioning, as well as you can talk to your doctor to really go through your full medical and family history. You can also do brain scans. So we're looking at your CTs, your MRIs, your PET scans. That's going to look at all of your brain activity to see what is really going on in the brain. You also can get psychological testing done because there are some mental health and or mood components. So you want to see, is it actually dementia or is it really just a mental health challenge? And like I mentioned before, you can get genetic testing done to see if you carry the gene for the different types of dementia. You can also get cerebral spinal fluid tests done as well as blood tests. So this is going to test for any abnormal proteins that may be in the blood to really see what's going on. You can also get sleep studies done depending upon the type of dementia that the doctor is concerned about. So when you're talking to your doctor about dementia, you can talk to your primary care, but you can also be diagnosed by geriatric psychiatrists, neuropsychiatrists, and geriatricians. But the best person to also talk to about dementia is a neurologist because they look at the brain and that's their area of specialty. I will say again, anytime you are concerned about anything going on with you physically or mentally, I will always say talk to your doctor first to see what's really going on. And if you aren't really comfortable going to the doctor by yourself, I would suggest taking someone with you who is very comfortable with you, and they can also advocate on your behalf to make sure you are getting what you need so that you can plan and do what you have to do. So to prevent your risk of developing dementia, here's some things you can do. You can maintain a healthy lifestyle. So that's going to look like eating a healthy diet, being physically active, not smoking, getting your appropriate and adequate amount of sleep. You are going to continue to be socially active. You also want to make sure you are doing things that keeps your brain active and healthy. So that looks like crossword puzzles, trivia, word searches. If you like to crochet, knit, you like to make music, draw, paint, still continue to be creative, read books, learn new skills, do things that keep your brain active. Also, if you are a person that likes to participate in activities where you need a helmet, please wear your helmet so you are keeping your brain safe. Like I said at the beginning, there is heart health, and I am here to remind you to have brain health. Alrighty, that is it. That is all I have for you today. Any additional questions or comments for me?
Oh, what an amazing presentation, Giovanna. I learned so much and you made it sound so easy and explained all of these concepts so well. So please, when this is posted on YouTube, y'all review and rewind and share with others. But I learned so much today. So would
Thank
anyone
you.
like, yes, thank you. Does anyone have any comments or last questions for Giovanna? Again, we thank you so much for coming on. You know, it's the time for the holidays, so you know we tend to be around more folks around the holidays. So, you know, a little concern can go a long way.
Exactly. My main goal and role in my position at DACL is to actually help with overall dementia education and awareness because I do know that dementia can be a very scary topic at times and also can be very anxiety provoking. And I also know it's that elephant in the room that nobody ever wants to look at. They don't want to touch it. They don't want to talk to it. They don't even want to acknowledge it. My goal is if I can at least remove one layer of fear, I did my job. And also, if I taught you at least one thing about dementia that you didn't know, I also did my job because that means now you are going to go out and help somebody else.
I
And
love.
the circle of awareness continues.
Thank you so much for making it so personable.
You're
And
welcome.
oh, I love this. I
Um,
love this slide right here. Yes, I need
Yes,
a
if
second.
you have any concerns about abuse, neglect, self-neglect, and or financial exploitation or exploitation, you can contact the Department of Aging and Community Living Adult Protective Services hotline at 202-541-3950. If you have concerns or overall questions and would like to make a referral for yourself or someone else and you want to learn more about services that DACO offers, you can contact our information and referral line at 202-724-5626. And then this is my contact information listed here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, but I
Oh,
will
do you
post
mind
these.
staying on either screen so you can flip between the two? We could still see you.
Okay,
Would you mind staying on the slides in case folks have a question about anything you've
sure.
presented? But this is amazing, and thank you for including your contact info and DACL's hotline number and INRA. It's so important to take advantage of the resources here in the city. So please utilize them. Um, and so any hands, any final questions or comments for Giovanna today? Thank you so much again. We have Miss Denise and then Miss Doris. Any last questions, comments for today? Anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to say that I know they like music because I follow this lady and her mom called Dementia and Diva. That's their name. And she's in a nursing home, her mom. But her mom loves Anita Baker.
Mhm.
And she put Anita Baker on, what's that song called? On my own, love you, baby. Something like that.
I know what
Anyway,
you're talking about.
yeah, she plays that for her mom, and her mom just dance and they hand dance, and she just loved that song. And she say now that's how she keep her calm down, because otherwise sometimes she be wanna, fight, because she don't actually know her,
Right,
but she knows she's something to her.
right.
And she keeps talking with her, or she'll say, "Give me a kiss, Mom," and different things to keep her calm. And but since she put that Nita Baker on, oh boy. Yeah, but
Yes, music is a very good calming strategy when you are
yeah,
really trying to redirect a person with dementia.
yeah.
It can also help kind of mitigate certain behaviors because it is going
Mm-hmm.
to help really keep them calm, but it's also going to, trigger fond memories for
Yeah, that's
that
what it be.
person with
Mm-hmm.
dementia. So it puts them in a better mood,
Yeah,
and it's a really good redirection strategy. It really
it
is.
is. And it is for us too sometimes. When we put on some music we like, and it might
Exactly.
calm us down, or
Right. You know how like different music helps you do different things. Like you put on a certain type of music and it's gonna help you
yeah.
get motivated to clean your house and be
Yeah.
productive and do what you gotta do. You could put
There
on
you go.
one thing to
Uh-huh.
kind of help soothe you to go to sleep. It just music
Yeah.
is a really good strategy.
So it's yeah, it is. Well, thank you. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Miss Denise. We appreciate it
Uh-huh.
so much.
Thank you.
We got Ms. Doris next. Any last comments or questions for Giovanna today? And then
Yeah,
Mr.
I just want to make a comment about how they don't like to take baths and stuff. So my father used to complain about his legs was hurting all the time. So I told him, I said, "Did you see that lady on TV?" I said, after she got in that tub and took a bath, she ran around the block. That's how I tricked him into getting in the tub. That worked for one time, and the next time he told me, I ain't listen to that shit you talking.
Yeah, you learn as you are a caregiver, you learn how to get a little creative when you are trying to help them do certain things. You get creative with certain tactics.
Yeah, I told him, I said, that lady ran around the block. You didn't see that on TV? He said, no. That's how I tricked him getting in the tub that time. But it only worked one time for him.
Right. Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. We got Miss Dolores. Any last questions or comments for Giovanna today? Then Miss Brenda, thank you.
Yes, I just have a question. I got on late, so you might have already answered it. But what is the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's? And the
Yeah,
reason why I asked, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, the reason why I asked that question because my sister, who just turned 85 years old this year, first they say she had, dementia, and, forgetting things and some of the stuff that you just listed, and then they say she had Alzheimer's. So I'm trying to figure out what is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia. 'Cause either way it goes, she still, repeat what she say over and over again, and don't remember. She used to be a type of person that I don't care if she first meets you and you ask her your birthday, she would be able to tell you your birthday and any other information. And we just first thought it was just for the family that she remembered everybody's birthday when they got married, divorced, and etc. But she noticed this last year that she wasn't remembering birthdays because that's always been her expertise. So at that time, they say she was getting a sign of dementia, and then they say she had Alzheimer's. So I'm just trying to figure out what is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia because either way it goes, she still have memory loss.
Right. So dementia is the umbrella term, and it's going to be the umbrella term that is going to describe any conditions that impact memory, cognitive functioning, so that's thinking, memory, all of that, as well as mood, personality, and behavior. And it's going to cause a decline that is going to severely impact how an individual functions in everyday life, right? And Alzheimer's falls under the umbrella of dementia as a type of dementia.
Oh, they had different types of dementia?
It's over 100 different types of dementia.
Dolores, make sure you watch this video. I'm gonna try to get it uploaded tonight. So make sure you check out this video. Giovanna went over some forms of dementia or common types.
Oh,
Make
okay.
sure you watch this video, okay?
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. We got Miss Brenda and then Mr. Ronald. Again, we have a few minutes left, so thank you so much.
Well, I just want to say thank you for the presentation, Giovanna,
Mm.
because I wish I had known a lot of this when my mom was living. I didn't know there were different types of dementia. So I think this information would have helped me quite a bit, had I known when she was still here. So
Mm.
yeah, just want to thank you for that.
You are welcome. Like I said,
You
that is my goal and role, is to really help individuals understand the different types of dementia, but overall give dementia education because it is something that is very prevalent nowadays. So I do think it's really helpful to understand what you're working with,
Yeah.
especially as you navigate the different types. So that way you know what services are really needed and what interventions and what treatments would be best. So I'm glad I was helpful in that
Yes,
aspect
very.
for you.
And also it'll help us to know what we need to do. So,
yeah.
if we develop it, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. So I'm going to put
And
this in the chat.
we got Mr. Ronald, another last question comment. Thank you all so much. Y'all did it so amazing today.
Hi, Mr. Ronald.
Good afternoon, Giovanna. Thank you very much for joining us today. Your presentation was very insightful and very helpful. I have to go back
Yeah.
to what Denise was talking about, how music plays a role in our lives, past and present. But that Anita Baker song is called Sweet Love, which is very appropriate for this type of, I'm not going to say behavior, but some folks can relate to some music somewhere in their lives, which will keep us calm and helpful. But thank you very much. I really enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you. I'm glad this was really helpful for everybody. The goal is for me to come back. So I will say, if you have any specific topics that you all want me to touch on when we're navigating dementia, you can always let Alex know so he can tell me. Otherwise, I'm just going to come with topics that I think are really interesting.
Oh, and they have been. And again, I had the pleasure of watching you present this presentation to another group, and you did just as amazing and even better with the presentation. And again, I'm so
Thank you.
happy you have everything laid out. And Giovanna, thank you so much for coming on. I think you are
Thank you for
definitely,
having me. I
yeah.
did share the
Uh-huh.
presentation in the chat so that you all can have a copy of it. You can look through it. It also has a lot of references and resources in the back, as well as my contact information and all the contact information for DACL.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Giovanna. You're definitely going to be a vital part of our sessions this year. So thank you so much. And one question for you, what do you think of the group? And we do, you get our schedule. Some of our seniors have been on for 2, 3, 4+ years with us every week, some of them every single day. I know you talked about routine and social isolation. So what do you think of the class and our seniors today? And any last words of wisdom or thoughts for us?
I think this was a really good group. I can tell that you all have been together for a while. You all get along very well and mesh together really nicely. You all had really good questions, very interactive, which is very helpful for me because I can't answer questions that I don't know if I don't know you have that question, right? But it's also really beneficial when you share your stories and your experiences because it also highlights, what you've gone through, but it also shows that each person's journey with dementia is totally different. And that also continues to help spread awareness and add to the overall education. So this is a really good group. I was excited to come. I'm so happy that I met you all, and I look forward to coming back.
Yes, you'll be with us in December, so about a month from now, and it'll be right before the holidays. I know you're going to have a fun and festive
Yeah,
topic.
we're going to talk about communication in the holidays.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. I learned so much. I just want to share what I learned with all my friends so that way they can, get their ducks in a row. And I hope you all do the same. But I really enjoyed today. So let's give a very big special thank you to Giovanna for a wonderful presentation. And let's wish her a wonderful Thanksgiving. Hope you come to our Thanksgiving party, and we'll see you in December. Thank you,
Thank
Giovanna.
I
Thank
hope everyone
you.
has a good
Giovanna, thank you so,
holiday.
Giovanni.
so much for
Thank
providing the
you. Thank
information.
you. You've been
Thank
most
you.
helpful.
I will see
Thank you
you
very
all in
much.
December.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Miss Hunt. Thank
Thank
you
Thank
very
you.
much.
you.
you.
So
Thank
much.
Very
you.
informative.
Very
Thank
Thank
you.
helpful.
Thanksgiving.
Same to
Thank you.
you.
Nice
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
Thank
Very
you so
helpful. Very
much.
Bye bye.